All right, let's see if we can't get this working now. All right. Now, I think you're going to either love me or hate me, but I've gone back and revised the course because I've removed the thematic content assignments completely. Now, you still have access to them. So if you've done some work already on these chapters and submitted content to the thematic readings, you can still go back and capture that. And what I'm going to ask you to do then is, what I've done is instead of using those pages, I've just removed all of those, that work, and put it in discussions. And so now you have a series of discussions. So like I said, you're either going to love me or hate me for this. Sometimes the best intentions don't always result in the greatest outcomes. And I think I found that out with this structure that I had planned for the course. I think it's going to be a lot more simpler, but the way, since I'm implementing this 3 weeks into the semester, it's caused a kind of pileup of assignments at the end. Now, I think I can avoid that by, in the next couple of weeks, what I'm going to do is do a series of little announcements and video lectures like this one, in which I'm going to talk specifically about individual chapters from origins, ethics, and theories of knowledge to try to help you make some connections then for your research project in terms of framing your arguments. For example, as I was posting up the discussion questions on the Egyptian cosmogony, which is either the third, I think it's the third chapter in the iBook. Egyptians were terribly concerned with immortality, and their science of mummification was designed around this idea to try to achieve a kind of immortality. Now, in our modern medicine and science, we also are kind of concerned with immortality, or at least extending our lifespans beyond any idea that or expectations that we've had in the past. And so that's where these kinds of ideas come from, right? Where do we get this notion that we should or could expect to live hundreds of years perhaps? But from these original sort of myth stories, ideas about the lifespans of people. Certainly in the Christian Bible, references are given to amazing lifespans of people, right? And so it's already in our imagination. And so these are sort of the sources of inspiration for policy then that comes about. And that's why I'd like for you to make connections between origins and ethics. Now, is that a good idea, right? To extend our lifespans, right? At whose cost? And that becomes an ethical question. And so there, maybe, do we get some help, from these chapters and readings in ethics? And so I'd like to direct your attention towards that. And then the theories of knowledge, of course, and I want to talk about reason versus belief, right? And so there's the conflict between, maybe these ideas are in conflict with one another, that belief and reason, that just because we can do something doesn't necessarily, reason might suggest that we shouldn't do something, as I already admitted about the structure for this course, right? So I wanted to just quick, I'm going to score up this first discussion, which you guys, I've already praised you enough on this, but there was an addition to this, and this is kind of what I'm looking for. And hopefully, as you go through this course, you'll look at each other's writings, and you'll find these wonderful nuggets that your classmates and your colleagues are posting up. And here we go. This is, I just found this, Karen Gonzalez entry, in which she adds this little video about Adam and Eve's role in creation.
There are billions of us on this planet. It's hard to believe we all came from one man and one woman, but we did. Who were they? When and where did they live? Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions trace us all back to Adam and Eve. The book of Genesis says they came from a place called Eden, near the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, somewhere in the ancient Near East. No one has yet found the location of the Garden of Eden, though many have tried. But why do we want to find it? Well, the reason is interesting. The Garden of Eden doesn't just represent the beginning of humanity. It is the beginning of our conversation with God. And finding out when and where that took place would tell us an awful lot about who we are.
So I really enjoyed that. So thank you very much, Karen, for posting that. And so there's so many kind of questions that occurred to me. Not only is our interest about, this idea about our relationship with a God or a creator, what if you don't really believe in that? But perhaps you're very interested in the origins of humanity from a genetic perspective, right? And there's a lot of really interesting research going on in genealogy. Many of you, I know I've submitted to 23andMe to look at my genetic history and my historical background. And so a lot of databases are being developed with genetic coding to look at our connections around the world and see how connected we are. And so this is just really fascinating stuff, I think, and certainly might be an interesting research topic to follow up on. So at any rate, as I said, I'm going to go and score these throughout this week. So if you haven't gone back and made edits, and recommendations that based on my recommendations, you might still have a chance. But don't worry, I'll be starting to look at discussions for discussion number 2, which I changed also to help you guys out since Blade Runner was expensive. So hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at some of those TED Talks and found some inspiring information there. And so let me quick take a look and show you then this new discussion board, what it looks like with our discussion assignments. As I said, you've now got a bunch of these chapter assignments. Vishnu is due September 28th, chapter 2. I've given you 1 week to get going on that. Egyptian cosmogony is the following week. All right. Popol Vuh and Kojiki are both due the week after that, on October 12th. And then I'm doubling up every week after that. So Mary Daly and the Tao Te Ching, 2 chapters at a time. As I told you, this has caused a bit of a pileup. And so what I'm going to do is encourage you to jump around, all right, in the book as we go and do assignments out of order. Get the work done so it helps you in your research project. That's how I want to use the book as a resource. And so I'll be jumping around and I'll be picking out individual chapters from these different sections of ethics, origins, and theories of knowledge for you over the next couple of weeks, all right? Try to help you with that and to respond to those individual prompts. Once again, they'll be scored just like the regular discussion prompts. There's a couple of questions I'd asked you to investigate in each chapter. For example, in the Tao Te Ching, give 2 examples of wisdom sayings. Explain what they mean to you. You give examples from the text. Use parenthetical APA citations. Find an example of art or culture of the Tao Te Ching's continuing influence in culture and society. And then finally, what's your connection to culture, this culture and society? Are you a New Age person? It's funny how much of our New Age wisdom is, borrowed heavily, from these ancient traditions and sacred readings. So, once again, apologize for changing things around. I hope that this path will be much simpler to follow and be very straightforward for you and ensure your success. And as always, I will be very flexible, but I urge us, to stay on the path and to do this work as promptly as we can. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.